Hey everybody, I guess figured this would be the easiest way to update everybody on my Cutlass. I did an LSA swap. It's just completed. Uh, Although there's still a lot of cleanup to do. There's a lot of wiring and hoses that I gotta uh, take care of. But she is running, idling. Not really much more than that. She got a little lean on tip-in. Imagine that. But still have to figure that out. Uh, I have a tuner that I can go to once I get her running and driving to smooth everything out, but I think I can get her driving. Not really be able to romp on her, but at least to get her to where she needs to be. But I guess we'll start off. Yep, Zila 1 there's a Corvette style accessories down there. I have the Dirty Dingo low AC mount. Can't really see it. Low compressor mount. I mean, there's barely enough room to have the Holley rearward mounts, engine mounts down there. So there's just barely enough room. Here, let me get some light. I say there's just barely enough room down there for it, and honestly, may need to do a little bit of clearancing, but with the poly engine mounts and poly trans mount, motor doesn't really move a whole lot. So we'll see. So far, so good. Okay, and let's take out the Motion Raceworks little steam kit. You have the ADM little reservoir for the coolant, the supercharger. Right down there is the CWA 50 BMW branded Pureberg pump that actually moves a decent amount of water. So I think it do just fine. Made big changes to the coolant system, or the cooling system, with a CNR radiator. This is actually for a second-gen Camaro Firebird, because I wanted a radiator with power steering cooler and engine oil cooler built in, and I guess they no longer make that for A-bodies. So, oh well. For the fans, I'm keeping my LS1 4th gen fans because they seem to be doing the trick. I know I had radiator issues, so knew that I was going to replace that. Still, I may end up extending the shroud a bit because it kind of ends, let's see, right about here. So I kind of had to jerry rig a seal, but it actually does pretty well. I have a DCC fan controller. Fans kick on about 180. Highest I've seen temps after the cooling system was kind of bled out was like 200. I know yesterday I had it running just sitting here, and the temps were at 190. So I mean, not bad. I guess the real test will come next summer, when temps are 110 plus out, and I got the AC cranked and all that good stuff. But also wanted to show you, I have the CNR LSA heat exchanger, or ZL1, or not LSA heat exchanger. It's for a first gen Camaro Firebird, and I wanted it because it actually bolts right to the vintage air condenser. But for the first gen Camaro, they actually want you to bolt it behind the condenser, and then it mounts to the core support. But I ended up just flipping it around and putting it in front so we could get all the fresh air. And because of the vintage air dryer, the way it's situated, it's basically sits like right here, up against the condenser, so that had to be moved. And so it's I had to get to bend the original piping that's here, and then I got some new piping for the rest, and also I had to run some new AC lines. Just the compressor was mounted up high right here, now it's all the way down there. But let's see. Oh yeah, and I'm still waiting on some extra line so I can mount this right there next to the reservoir. And down here is my little power steering reservoir. It's actually attached to my cheap little air box. And you can see the fittings for the engine oil cooler. They're just kind of capped off right now. I'll get around to that. And I have, let's see, that's pretty much it up here. That's new. I have a VaporWorks CTSV, or VaporWorks controller with CTSV module that I sent back to Carl to get changed to a manifold reference or map reference for boost. And these are the wires for that. I didn't feel like pulling up the interior and running those. So for the time being, just to get it running, I have them off running all the way here. And I'm going to be redoing some of this wiring back here because I actually moved the battery. It was right back there, and so I moved it over here and I have my little VaporWorks controller right there. But I'm going to clean up this wiring, make a mount for that fourth solenoid, and yeah, made some room back here for some festivities, maybe a sub back here. I don't know. We'll see. But again, a lot of this was just to get it working and use the piece of parts I already had lying around. So, like that ground strap, just had that lying around. But, so yeah, that's it back here. I still have to do the transmission cooler because I'm actually going to mount that underneath here to get it. I didn't want it in front of my heat exchanger, so it'll actually go right here. I'm going to put in some nut certs in this cross member here, but brace. And up here it bolts in. That's where the actual seat bolts in because it goes all the way through. So I will put some spacers on those and get the angles all figured out. But she hangs down a little bit past the frame, but I mean not much. So should be good. I may make up a little heat shield to kind of put in between the oil cooler and the exhaust. I don't know. This is just kind of an experiment. See how it works out. Let's see. Nothing really. There's the Holly oil pan, 680 pan, 2010 or 5th gen Camaro pan. The exhaust, with the Hedman exhaust, and yeah, that's pretty much it down here. So let's see. I still have one upcoming project is, well, e-stop park and brake, and okay, that's a E93 front seats that I will be installing at some point, and my incredible mess of the garage. Yeah, oh well, is what it is. And I have some wiring I need to tuck away. Actually, the blue and the orange can go. The white is actually a ground for my little Kenwood Bluetooth amp deck thingamajiggy. And I have a steering column from GM Tilt, the tilt floor shift column with flasher on the turn signal, or not flasher, but the high-low beam. Instead of having to reach way back there and hit the dimmer switch, it'll be there on the column. So probably get a console at the same time, and just so much. So much. And plus, there's other interior work to do and body work, of course. I was hoping to actually sand, because I know nothing about body work, so I was like, yeah, maybe I can sand down to the original gold paint, which this is. It's Saturn Gold. And if anybody's seen like Junkyard Digs, they pulled a 72 Cutlass S out of a little storage unit and got it running and driving, and that's basically how this looked. Because that Cutlass was Saturn Gold with a white top, white interior, and even the stripes that go along the top of the fender and the rear fender. So yeah, that was cool to see that. Okay, that's about it. I know, and with these fans, I figured if they don't do the trick, the Volt fans actually should fit perfectly on here. I just figured I had these. I was using these already, so I didn't want to switch those around too. Figured if these would work, great. If it turns out they don't do the trick, then I have options. So, yeah, that's about it. I guess more to come.